Hi everybody, welcome to Sports for All podcast. I'm your host Eden, and today I've got a really exciting guest. So do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Thank you so much. I am a Kenyan youth who's also a person with disability. The basic interest that brought us here is because of sports. And for me, I am a sports person, partaking para taekwondo and as well as doing sitting volleyball. I do para taekwondo for competitions within and beyond the country, but sitting volleyball within the education institution because I'm a university student in Kenya, in a university named as USIU Africa, where I'm pursuing a BA, that's a Bachelor of Arts in International Relations, and as well as an International Olympic Committee young leader, pursuing promotion of para sports within the education institutions in the country. Thank you.
Oh wow, amazing. You do a lot. It'll
Thank
be
you.
exciting to hear more about everything and also so special that somebody who does taekwondo, I don't get to talk to people who do it very often on this podcast, so I'm very excited. So do you want to tell us all a bit about your sports journey so far? How did you get started? Yeah, have you always been involved in taekwondo or did you try other sports when you were younger?
Yes, sure. My sporting journey has been an interesting one because each stage has had its own sporting discipline that I've had interest in. More so in my rolehood or my role setup while young, what we will plug in hugely was football. There's that role football that we used to play. At that time, I had no disability affecting my because my disability affects my left arm, and these are disability that I was not born with. It came later on in my life as I was growing up, and so I love football. And fun enough is my dad in his heydays he was a goalkeeper, and so even for me, that is the lining I was following, and I also wanted to be a goalkeeper just like him. But now the challenge that came in is the disability came in. I was around age 9, 10, and so I couldn't get into professional goalkeeping or even professional football because now with the disability it became a disadvantage. But I still could play with my peers because that was not professional. That was just like a friendly engagement. Yeah. So that is what I did for mostly in my primary school. When I went to high school, I got into volleyball. I loved volleyball. Again, the disability is still withstanding. I could train with my colleagues doing the physical exercise, but now they came to the pitch to game, I couldn't get an opportunity because of the disadvantage of my left hand being deformed because it has that's where my disability arises from. So I could, after doing the physical training with them, I could now end up being the referee of the game, the volleyball game. So
Oh,
I did that for a short while. Then I left. I decided, no, it's now let me focus on my studies because
yeah.
if what has brought me here more majorly is education, and so let me focus on it and see whatever will come forth. If sporting endeavor comes in while in high school, yes, well and good. If not, I'll go with the education thing because now that is what will be my real savior. So I later on got to campus, got to the university. Then into my second year, there's a coach who came to scout for students within my university. And so this gentleman comes and gets to engage with a sports coordinator within the university. When then the sports coordinator calls the chair of our disability club because we had a students with disabilities club in the university. So at that very moment, I was serving as the vice chair. So the sports coordinator called the chairman, then linked him up with the coach. Then the coach told him of the kind of persons he wants to have because they were just bringing up a persons a para taekwondo team. Para taekwondo is for taekwondo for those with disabilities. So because he gave him the specifications and told them, I want people who have disability in their upper arms, that is on their hands, any of them, either one or both hands, but they are physically fit on the lower limbs, that is the legs. You should be physically fit, know anything in terms of disability affecting the lower limbs. So of all the people in my club or in my school, I was the only one who was possible. Like I was the only one who fit in the requirements that was set. So I was roped in. I started training with my peers at the university who were doing taekwondo, even if I'm supposed to get to para taekwondo split. So I could train with them. But now, when time came, I was introduced to my colleagues whom we got formed with the first ever, the pioneer, the country's national para taekwondo team that
Wow.
I've been part of since its formation to date. And that para taekwondo has helped me a lot. I know you'll get to ask much questions but much later, but at least you wanted that history, and I think that is how my sport journey has been up to date. That and now later on, also within the university, because again there's a challenge. There are not many people who are interested in pursuing para taekwondo because of the how it is being it's a martial arts gaming, and many people think that it's kind of violent or a game that involves much violence.
Yeah.
So within the university also I've been able to work with my colleagues and do sitting volleyball. There's a volleyball done by those with physical disabilities, and you do it while seated. So that is also another sports discipline that I do while in campus. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's been so interesting to hear more about your journey. That seated volleyball club sounds really interesting, and you're so right. Like, I think a lot of universities and different places like don't really understand how to, and I think we'll talk a bit about this more, but like how to implement accessible
Yeah.
teams, clubs, sports, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I'm really interested to hear more about para taekwondo because it's only a thing I know a little bit about. Because my coach, he judges at the bigger competitions, so you might have run into him before to find out a bit more about that. So kind of a
Yeah.
bit of a different question because I know like you're obviously also really passionate about education and that's something that I think the values that you learn through sport, you can really
Yeah.
instill them into education. And I know you're GYA because that's how I met you. So do you want to tell me a bit about that as well and maybe how the skills that you've learned in being involved in sport have helped you in your education and also in your advocacy role?
So thank you so much. For me, education has been a great impact to me, and I've seen the fruits of education. And when you get to bring them together, education and sports, then it can lay a great roadmap for an individual or for people who are so much into those two fields. And again, as a person's ability, I've seen the much impact sports can have and education can have in personal disabilities. And when also connected all together, they can help skyrocket the development of persons with disabilities. And so, more so from where I came from, not many persons with disabilities have been privileged to get education, and more so good education, because you find that there are challenges here and there, be it issues about financing, issues about accessibility of the infrastructure around them, be it support systems that are put in place to support their uptake or access to education. So you find that there are challenges here and there, and also the challenges that are affecting these persons in partaking education are nearly the same challenges that are affecting them in partaking sports, because you find that not many people understand that even persons with disabilities can partake sports. So for me, as a sports person who's within an educational institution or within the educational spectrum or sector of the country, I take it upon myself that I use all these platforms with education and also sports, because sports can be an avenue for enhancing inclusive education. Because inclusive education is not just ensuring that you have the learner with disability put in class from 8 to 4 or 8 to 5, depending on the timings of the curriculum or of the timings of the institution. But rather ensuring that this learner, if at all he or she has been admitted to the education institution of her standard, of his or her liking, how do you ensure that at the end of it all, this learner is not just impacted in terms of curriculum only? How about the co-curricular engagement? It may be sports, it may be arts, it may be music, it may be talent development in different prospects, you know. And so, because I hold it in high regards in terms of sporting, because it can help. One, sporting is an activity engagement model. It takes an activity engagement model, you know, because you get to see whatever somebody does, be it in football, be it in taekwondo that I do, be it in volleyball, be it in goalball for those who are visually impaired. So you get to see whatever these people can use for their recreation engagement. So for me, I look at it from a point of it can be used to harness disability inclusion because it helps to inform the society that these people have the potential to do this, which for us we can't do, or at least we give them alternative sporting avenue of which the other people, the people who do not have disability can do, because if we have mainstream football for those without disability, we have amputee football for those with disability. The same way we have futsal for those with visual impairment. So
Yeah.
the adaptive nature grants everybody the opportunity to partake which they can do. And when you combine all this together with education, it helps to make sure that accessibility of infrastructure within our education institutions is well enhanced. So to ensure that these people can partake the education with much ease and also do sporting with much ease because accessibility is now taken care of 100%, as well as financing. When you finance equipment for learning, you also finance equipment that are very necessary for sporting. So that is why for me, within these two sectors, have very much interest so that I use sporting to champion issues about access to education and access to inclusive education, that is, as well as use education to champion for enhanced support for co-curricular development for learners with disabilities. I beg to leave it at that.
Yeah. No, that there's so much within that, and I totally agree with everything you said. I think also when you're in a when you're in education and you're within an inclusive environment, if you're also in sport and you see challenges and barriers and you see people who want to get involved but who might not face the same opportunity as you want to translate what you've learned in other spaces, be that even in sport into education or in education into sport. And I think, like you were saying, like people can just learn a lot from both experiences and really make it as accessible, make it as inclusive as possible for other people. So no, that was a really, really great answer. So my next question is, what have been some of your highlights of being involved in sport so far? Probably quite a big question.
So for me, I think there are two. One of them is the second time I went to a taekwondo tournament that was in the fifth African Para Taekwondo Championship that happened in 2022 in Niger near May. I had the honor of scooping a bronze medal from the competition. And for that win or that medal was not just for me, it was a reformation of the reckoning of the things that can come up when somebody is committed into the game and committed to the ideals of the game. And for me, I remember a while back when after getting this medal and I was hosted in one of the national broadcasters in the country, then one question that I was asked is, like, what does this medal mean to you? I told that person, not even without thinking or even getting to recite or whatever I'm gonna say, because I didn't have that question in mind. But what I told him is that, for me, I'm an inclusion champion. Championing for inclusion of persons with disabilities, more so the interest and the welfare of learners with disabilities. Uh, so whatever I told him is that, you know what, for me, I have I want to use this avenue to champion for the interests of students with disabilities and persons with disability at large to use sporting for their inclusion and even empowerment, because sports stand out in empowering people. If at all it's fully invested in and well invested in, then it can support the development of persons with disabilities in all round within our country, within our nationalities, devoid of where we're coming from. But at least when we ensure that we fully harness solid support systems for persons with disabilities, then it can work well for many of us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you do it so well. And like even
Yeah.
just this short conversation we've had, can definitely be that inspiration for other people. And I think people can really see that, okay, maybe I am finding it quite challenging at the minute in my sport. Maybe there isn't the facilities. Maybe I'm just struggling with a lot of things, disability and
Yeah.
also confidence, which we'll touch on. But I think you can really like look at role models, inspirations, and be that for somebody else as well. And I think Taekwondo, as we say, is such a small community as well, and I feel like everybody kind of knows everybody. So when you see people who have overcome obstacles or who are really just showing up, despite anything that they're going through, I think can take a lot from that. Um, so this is kind of just a random question, but what has your competition experiences been like? Do you compete in like Pumse or like what is your competition remit?
Like what happens is that we get classified
Yeah,
because again, more so as persons with disabilities, you find that we have different extents of how
yeah,
disability affects us. More so, you find that, like for example, for me, my right arm is fine, is fully fine now and fully functional, unlike my left arm. So there's another person who will have that same degree. So if at all that person maybe it might be the left hand that has disability or right hand, for that person we in the same degree. But there's also an individual who has totally no like both hands are affected or both hands have disability. So we find that you can't play with that person.
yeah,
The same to an extent where a person, like for example, has no hand totally. Like for me, my left hand is deformed, but there's also another colleague who has left hand fully not present or not available. So you find that again, you can't compete that person because for you who has a hand like hanging over there, you know, you have an advantage, or there's how it gives you some stability. So you can't game such a person. Then there's again you can't game against another person, like the person who totally doesn't have both hands. So we have various qualifications, and so for me, mine is Kyorugi 44. That is my classification. And also we have again classification of weight categories. So for
yeah.
me, I'm under 70. So it starts from 63, 63.1 to 70 kg. So that is my category. The last question that you asked, the highlights of sports career, I'd forgotten the second one. And like I was linking up to the development that I had mostly in getting the medal and connecting with the inclusion aspect. Then I got to unravel the aspect of, for me, to using sports to champion for issues about access to education and also connecting it to issues about disability inclusion at large. The big one of the highlights was being picked in a pool of more than 300 applications globally to be part of the International Olympic Committee Young Leaders Program. It is a program that targets 25 young leaders globally. In each cohort, a cohort that runs for 4 years. People who are using sports or endeavoring to use sports to champion impact and change within their communities. And so when I got the medal in 2022, then that is in early February 2022. Then later on, I got this opportunity for the International Olympic Committee that came up in 2020, late 2022. Then I was accepted into the program in 2023 February. So that was also a great highlight because it was not it was a very stiff competition
Yeah.
that was not very easy because you're competing with people who have great ideas coming from robust nationalities with the robust ecosystem for sporting. Yeah, so it was also a great moment for me. Yeah.
No, it sounds incredible and definitely the perfect fit for it. So what have you been able to kind of do through that? What opportunities has that program presented you with since then?
It has granted me very solid opportunities. One among them is being in the last year's, no, not last year, but 2024 Olympics that happened in Paris. I had the privilege to be in Paris, not as an athlete, but because we had a program to share much information or get to engage with the attendees of the Olympics and the Paralympics about this program and get to impact more athletes, more the fans and everybody who was part and parcel, and to share to get to make sure that this information about this program is gotten by all and sundry, also those who are interested within the sporting domain, so that at least they get to share with the young people who are interested in using sports as an emblem for change, more so connecting it with the Sustainable Development Goals that emanate from the United Nations. So that was an avenue that came through the program. Another avenue was last year in June. We got the privilege to attend a program called the Olympism 365 Summit. This is a program like the IOC Young Leaders Program that I'm part of is under the Olympism 365 strategy by the International Olympic Committee. So this Olympism 365 strategy is endeavoring to use sports to at least make impact within our communities. And so it has three or four programs. The one is targeting refugees, another one targeting issues about Olympic education programs. Then for us, this is the IOC Young Leaders Program. So like it's, I think the CSR aspect of IOC. So the Olympics, so they had an Olympics in 365 summit that happened last year in June in Switzerland, in Lausanne, Switzerland, that is. And so I had the privilege of attending this summit last year among together with my colleagues whom we are with in the IOC Leaders Program. So, and it was a plus because these are a summit that brought in stakeholders and partners of the International Olympic Committee from far and wide different countries, different nationalities, the Olympic committees from different countries globally, and even corporate institutions. We had institutions like Coca-Cola, we had Deloitte, all coming in. Just to mention but a few.
Yeah, whoa, the no, that sounds amazing. And also the Paris experience as well, like in that atmosphere and being able to showcase what you guys are doing through the group and also through your own
Yeah,
community as well. It just sounds incredible. And I think it really shows how like the power of sport and what it can really how it can be really
yeah.
forced for good. Yeah, no, honestly, incredible. I'm blown away to be honest. I didn't even know much about the IOC, so thank you so much for sharing. Um, sounds so cool. This is probably quite a big question because you've definitely talked a lot about this already. But what do you think the biggest lessons are that you've learned from being involved in these different leadership opportunities and also sport more generally?
For me, I think sports, one of the great things I've learned and picked from the sports is discipline. And because and discipline cuts across and different points because one, you get to be committed into the game because you can't be a champion just a day after training or by just getting to one competition. You have to keep training, you have to keep performing. Whether you get to lose today, it is your spirit that will determine who you will be tomorrow. If at all you have a weak spirit that when you've lost in one game, then you're done, then you can't be a long term or an impactful sports person. You have to keep into it. You have to train hard. You have to be persistent into all this so that at least at the end of it all, everything gets to work out for you in great measure. So that is for me what I've picked from this. And so another thing is that the diversity that it holds or it brings forward, very immense, very colorful, very outstanding because you will get to meet people from different walks of life, people from different nationalities, people from different backgrounds, and you get to meet the whole world in one go or in one touch with much ease, mostly through sporting. Yes, I know education also plays that role, but sporting for me has enabled me close that lead to and like in a great extent because I've met people whom I never thought I'll get to meet in my life because of sporting, and so that it's one avenue that I truly underscore. I can't truly underscore its potential. Yeah.
I totally agree, and even like, just like today is a perfect example of it. Like us having our conversation today, like we wouldn't have met through if it wasn't through sport and through even education as well. So like, yeah, I totally I think it's so important. Like the sports community is just so powerful, and it really helps you so much. Like you learn a lot about yourself through being involved, but you learn even more from the people that you are involved with and surround yourself with. And And yeah, I think that's so important. And also the discipline aspect as well. In massive, you can transfer that in so many aspects of your life as well. Only those are two big important ones that you've learned. So my last question is kind of the question I always end with is what advice would you give to a young person who wants to get involved in sport, but who might not have the confidence to do so?
Uh,
Big one.
for me, the advice that I'll give is be persistent, and also don't over expect, because sometimes we find that sometimes we get to expect a lot at the start, but that we get disappointed, while there are some great maneuvers that can come later on in life. And so for me, I think that it is very, very important that we get to be slow, or we take time into the game and see like everything turn out in good time. And also, I think for me, I think systems need to be established. Systems need to be established to support young people, because there's we can't play. There everything, or as we always say, everything has its own time. There are times that you are young, there are times you get to be old. And so the talent harnessing should be also regenerative, to a point that at least as a young person, you as young persons, our talents should be on course in when we get to work with the champions or reigning champions, so that when they exit the scene, we take up the mantle and ensure that we don't have our countries suffer
Yeah.
from lack of talents just because they are not being harnessed. And this also calls to the government and other stakeholders to come in to ensure that there's that talent harnessing done all through, so that at least we don't lose into the young people who are looking forward to being part and parcel of our sporting ecosystem, but don't have the opportunity to do so. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That is such an amazing piece of advice. There's so much
Thank you.
there's so much
Yeah.
that other people can be held accountable to make sure that we're given those opportunities and those leadership roles you've been given and me in some instances as well. And I think you're so right. Like you're not persistence is so important. Like you're not you'll have struggles. You might not love it straight away, but just keeping going even despite them is so important. And yeah, really holding other people accountable as well. And
Yeah.
ensuring that there's opportunities out there. No, that was amazing. Such a great way to end what has been an amazing conversation. So thank you so much. I'm feeling really motivated, inspired, and I know that everybody else listening will be too. So thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you want to find me and connect further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne. Until next time. Thank you so much for listening to my podcast. If you want to connect with me further, you can find me on LinkedIn at Eden Byrne and be sure to check out all the other amazing podcasts on Be the Change Media Network.